Hello everyone, welcome to my Black Ops Cold War Realism walkthrough, and this is Mission 1, Nowhere Left to Run. And this is a game I never thought I would actually do a walkthrough for. And if you know my channel well, you'll know that you don't see a lot of Call of Duty content on my channel, because I am not a big fan of Call of Duty's simple gameplay. I just think they always like to maintain the same model with every Call of Duty game that they do, and it just doesn't scream ambition really. And you know, there have been times when Call of Duty has gone out of its way to make the gameplay different, with like Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3 and like Black Ops 4, but although Black Ops 4 didn't have a campaign, but it had changes to like modes like the multiplayer and the zombies mode. But they've never really stretched the margin when it comes to making their gameplay significantly different, and I thought it was going to be the same with this game, and I only bought this game because of the zombies mode, but it turns out the campaign does have some different mechanics, and you're seeing some of them right now. So, the first big change that they've added to this game is the addition of a human shield mechanic, and you're not going to see it right now, because I don't get the opportunity to grab any of the enemies, but it's a really interesting choice, and it's the first time a campaign has really added something different when it comes to dealing with close quarter encounters. And it allows you to control the engagements so much, and I didn't think it would apply that much, but I'm wrong. And you know, Call of Duty has always been a very slow series when it comes to this kind of gameplay, and they're always just sitting in a back corner, just not really doing anything, and it just makes the gameplay so boring, and there's so many enemies, and the gameplay loop just gets very repetitive. But with this new addition of the human shield mechanic, it's actually allowed me to control the pacing of these encounters significantly, and allows me to speed up the process, and it allows me to feel more engaged with the combat. I'm not having to play the waiting game so much. And I've gotten to the second mission, and I've beaten that, and I still have yet to see what the rest of the game is like, but I'm really enjoying the campaign so far. But use the human shield mechanic on those enemies, and when you have the human shield, the enemies will not be able to damage you so long as you're facing in the correct direction. The moment the human shield is lost, you'll have to get another one, or just get back into cover very quickly, because the enemies are very good at shooting you on this difficulty. And one thing I've noticed about Realism difficulty is that the enemies don't seem to kill you as quickly as they normally did in the older Call of Duties, where on Veteran difficulty you die in about 2 or 3 bullets, but in this one there's a little bit more leniency involved with the number of hits you're allowed to take. And it's very interesting that they opted for this. And also, be careful of that area right there. Your team is so useless at killing the enemies that they'll oftentimes miss the most obvious targets, so always make sure you check your right to make sure the enemies don't sneak up on you. But keep pushing forward, get rid of the enemies. And one thing you'll notice about this game is that the enemies just don't flinch properly. It's a rather bizarre problem, considering that every other Call of Duty game before this has had moments where enemies can flinch from your shots. And it can be very cheap at times when the enemies can just hyper armor through your shots because they just forgot to put in a proper flinch animation system for the enemies. But as long as you are understanding which weapons are good for dealing with the enemies, you should be fine. And one thing that I definitely feel about this Call of Duty is that the pistols seem a little bit more reliable than the assault rifles, because the pistols seem to do a little bit more damage, and they aren't as inconsistent in their damage. I don't know if there's some kind of damage mitigation system on this game, but it's very odd. Here's a slow motion moment. Almost reminds you of that slow motion moment from Kowloon in Black Ops 1, but that one was a lot cooler than this. And now we have a couple of dialogue options, so I don't know what the point of this dialogue is, because as I said, I haven't beaten the game yet. I'm just playing through this and just releasing it. But these are the dialogue options that I opted for, and for some reason, when it comes to recording Call of Duty on PlayStation, there's a lot of trims that PlayStation does. Like right now, you'll notice that I didn't show the dialogue option, because the game just decided to cut it off for some reason. It's weird. It's the same problem I encountered in Black Ops 3. For some reason, whenever I'm trying to record footage on these Call of Duty games on PS4, there are just a lot more trims than usual. And it's going to make doing this walkthrough a lot harder than it needs to be, simply because Call of Duty and PlayStation just don't gel together properly when it comes to recording footage. But we now have this engagement right here. Just use your sniper rifle. Use the hold for focus command to slow down time, which is something I never expected this game to do. Normally in a Call of Duty game, when you're holding L3 when it comes to using sniper rifles, it just allows you to hold your breath and steady your aim, but they've given it a slow motion effect. I don't know if this is exclusive to this mission, or this is actually a fundamental mechanic, a part of this game, but if it is, that's pretty cool. And now we have this right here, which is almost impossible to die in, because the enemies are very lenient, and normally in the older Call of Duty games, you'd already be dead. Like, the vehicle moments would always be really bad, because let's be honest, guys, Call of Duty, when it comes to harder difficulties, is pretty terrible at doing that. can clearly tell that the developers of Call of Duty just never try to design their games around the highest difficulty, and instead, it just feels like they design their games around the easier difficulties, which is why there's a lot of arbitrary placements of enemies, there's a lot of infinite spawn moments, there are just a lot of moments where your team just doesn't do anything to support you, and they just settle on this very boring gameplay loop in order to allow you to get through veteran difficulty. There's a lot of moments where you just die in so many bullcrap ways because you just can't fight back, and you're spending more time just triggering checkpoints, and how can you settle on that gameplay loop as a standard for your game series? And I know Call of Duty and games like Halo standardize the first-person shooting genre, but it's just an obsolete model at this point, and it's just something that needs to evolve. And when I look at a first-person shooting game that actually feels intriguing and feels properly paced and has some really great mechanics, I think of Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 is my favorite first-person game ever because of the kind of enemy types it favors, the kind of designs it favors, the ways it just differentiates itself from other first-person games out there, the way it just differentiates itself from other survival horror games. That game is just a masterpiece. It's easily one of the best games ever made, and Capcom really showed how to properly make their gameplay feel very different from just such standardized formulas. And I'm not going to be able to go into a lot of detail about this tangent given how short this mission was, but I'll have to see how long the next couple of missions take to see if I can actually get in a moment to talk about this tangent, because there is a lot I'd like to talk about with regards to Call of Duty as a whole, with regards to this game, because I hope that this game actually does something that feels very different to the standard model of Call of Duty, because the first two missions feel great. And they actually felt properly paced rather than just an endless gunfight that is just normally the case with Call of Duty, and just explosions everywhere and all that really boring stuff that when you see it so much, it really starts to lose value and it really starts to get repetitive, and it might as well just be treated as a loading screen. And then I'd like to talk about Seraphim 17 when I get the chance, because I think his love affinity for Call of Duty is something that's just worthy of discussion, and it's really something I need to talk about. But that's for the later videos. But this is the end of Mission 1. Stay tuned for the future parts. Thank you all for watching, and you take care now.